Shalom everyone, and this week we read Parashat Ki Tisa. You can find it in the book of Shmot, Exodus, chapter 30, verse 11. Ki Tisa et rosh bnei Israel, as you raise the head of the children of Israel. And then it continues, Lifkudehem, for their census, to make it simple. ונתנו איש כופר נפשו לאדוני. How do you make a census? Each one should give his own redemption money to God. So ולא יהיה בהם נגף. So it won't bring them negef. Now, what does it mean, negef? Trying to find for a while, like the commentator is not saying, but it said negef is coming, the word magefa, plague, is coming from the word negef. But in Hebrew, negef means something that makes you fall. So it's not exactly a plague. A plague is the falling, the collapse. But the word is not from the word disease or a plague in English, but it's coming from the source Nun Gimel Pei, negef, which means something you stumble on, something that you collapse. Okay, something that makes you fall. So the story is, so how do you stop yourself from falling? You give half a shekel. You give half a shekel, which means, and I'll explain, especially this week is the week for giving half a shekel, because the time to give the half a shekel every week again, this is in yearly before the reading of the Megillah. This year, the reading of the book of Esther is Thursday, this week, Thursday night. So this is the time, most of the week, is about the giving of half a shekel. It's not always that we read the book of Esther in Parashat Ki Tisa, but happens to be this time. Now, the main topic of this parasha, I'll focus because there's always a message in the parasha for what's happening for us, each one of us, and also for whatever it's happening for us as humanity. There's always a message. And then because every year things are changing, so the message we can derive from the parasha is changing because we're changing. That's why it says on Mount Sinai, there were 600,000 people. Everybody heard the law. However, everybody heard it differently. So that's very important. Why? And everybody is right. So the Zohar is saying 600,000 proper, true definitions to every verse in the Torah. And that's also changing because every person is changing along his life to make us realize that the truth is changing all the time in our dimension. The truth is the same truth in the world of truth, but we're not living in the world of truth. We're living in the world of lies. And therefore, the truth in our dimension is relative. So the question is, humanity is within World War III, in another name, Armageddon. It's a long war. People go through a lot of experiencing, a lot of misunderstanding, terror, whatever you name it. It's very, very confusing to live in our times. And that's the biggest war, because the war is about consciousness. So when we are talking about the half a shekel, that's the beginning of the parasha. But after that, there's some other issues that are being raised. However, the main topic of this parasha is later on, and that's in chapter 32, verse 1. Remember, as I said in the previous weeks, when we come to Parashat Yitro, that's 3 weeks ago, Mount Sinai revelation, and the story of the giving of the 2 tablets, that's on Parashat Yitro. But Moses is still on the mount. He's still on the mount because what happens on Parashat Mishpatim is revealing to us, revealing the laws of the universe, means that you have to manifest it also in, a person-to-person relationships, honesty, integrity, the way you make business, the way you create a community, the way you create anything of a physical nature, that's on Parashat Mishpatim. Then comes Parashat Turma Tetzaveh, the last 2 parashot, is how you create the physical reality as a place for the dwelling of God's light. Otherwise, what do you need it for? Only in this parasha, in chapter 32, the Mount Sinai revelation is completed. And Moses is coming down with the tablets. So that's in chapter 32. Just a reminder, the parasha started chapter 30, verse 11. Chapter 32, that's the main story of the parasha. And there's a connection. Why this is not in the beginning of the parasha? And again, especially the Zohar will show us the connection between what's happening in the world right now, and we will see that written like it was written for us today. וירא העם כי בושש משה לרדת מן ההר. Again, chapter 32, verse 1. And the people see that Moses is late coming down from the mount. 40 days, no food, no water. He must be dead already. ויקהל העם על אהרון. So the people gather on Aaron. ויאמרו אליו, קום עשה לנו אלוהים. And they tell him, get up, make us a God. אשר ילכו לפנינו, that will lead us. כי זה, because that one, what's his name? Moses. האיש אשר העלנו מארץ מצרים, Moshe that brought us up from Egypt, לא ידענו מה היה לו. We don't know what happened to him. So listen carefully. What did we start the parasha with? And God speaks to Moses saying, when you want to raise the head of the children of Israel, okay? Here, the word is not the children of Israel, but the people. Who are those people? So let's see what the commentators are telling us. Not everybody relates to that, not here. In other places, they do relate to it. Okay, here it is. So, of course, that's a Zohar. And the Zohar is saying, Amar Rabbi Shimon Bo'eh. We can read that verse 59 in the Zohar Parshat Ki Tisa HaSulam's commentary. Mihem Aham. Who's the people? It's not the children of Israel, because when you want to say the children of Israel, you say Bnei Israel. When you say Ha'am, the people, who are the people? Umeshiv, and he answers, Hem Erev Rav. There's a name to it, Erev Rav. Why Erev Rav? The Zohar explains later on. Umihem Erev Rav, which means we have among the people standing on Mount Sinai 2 groups. One is called Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. And the other ones, Erev Rav. Erev Rav is usually translated a multitude of nations. And the Zohar and Rabbi Shimon is asking, וכי וכושים וכפתורים ותוגרמים היו. What does it mean? They were from Lydia, Kush, Africa, where they were from Crete or Cyprus, from the Greek islands, or where they're from Turkey of today. No, they were Egyptians. וממצרים נסעו, and they came from Egypt. ואילו היו ערב רב של עמים רבים, if it was a multitude of nations, of many nations, it should have been said. And there was a multitude of nations come with them, and they were from Lydia and from Cush and so on, according to the different nations they came from. No. When it says ערב רב, כי עם אחד ולשון אחד היו, they were one nation, they spoke one language. Who were they? אבל כל המכשפים של מצרים וכל החרטומים שלהם היו. They were the wizards, the warlocks of Egypt. שרצו לקום כנגד הפליאות של הקדוש ברוך הוא, as they saw the duel between Moses and Pharaoh, and as long as we read about the book of Exodus, they were trying all the time to show they thought that Moses was a sorcerer like them. So whatever he did was not a message from God. Sorcery. What sorcery is about? It's about, what's the word? You have an agenda to take over people's lives. That's what sorcery is about. Control, power. And they did not want to acknowledge the miracles of God. However, finally, they realized it's not sorcery. This is basically a new era, the ushering of a new era, the era of, when people can have freedom. And because they saw all those miracles, says the Zohar, Chazru al Moshe, they came back to Moses. And they came to ask him, take us with you. אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה, so God says to Moses, לא תקבל אותם, do not take them. אמר משה, ריבון העולם, כיוון שראו הגבורות שלך, הם רוצים להתגייר. Moses answered, God, they saw your power and they want to convert. They want to join us. יראו גבורתך בכל יום, they'll see your miracles daily. וידעו שאין אלוהים זולתך, they will know there's no God but you. קיבלה משה, and Moses took them. God told him not to. Okay? So why they're called Erev Rav? I won't go into all the details. It's verse 61. He said, because there are different ways of sorcery, their main sorcery was done, he says, a little bit after half an hour after noon. And that time is called Erev Rav. When the sun is starting to set, it's called Erev. That's the big Erev. This is the time of the beginning of the afternoon hours. This is the time for them to do their witchcraft, because it's a time of judgment. החוכמה שלהם, I'm skipping to verse 63 in the Zohar. החוכמה שלהם, ערב רב, הייתה גדולה. They had a great wisdom. הסתכלו במדרגות בשעות היום, they could see the changes of the planets and the effect of the change of every hour. And when they saw that Moses is late, Boshesh, you can read it also Beshesh. Boshesh, the word that the Torah is using, he was late, but it also, you can read it as Beshesh at 6 hours, noontime. And they could not control, because 6 hours after sunrise, these are hours of chesed, of grace. Their witchcraft was not powerful enough in the first 6 hours after sunrise. Only after those 6 hours, now it's time of judgment. So they gathered on Aaron because they wanted his power for the witchcraft they wanted to make. The calf, says the Zohar, was an act of witchcraft. They put inside witchcraft, and that calf was talking, prophesizing, and so on. They wanted a leader. So the question is, what's the story? What is the story over here? Look, they did the golden calf. The children of Israel did not stop them from doing that. Some of them even joined it with their hearts, as it says in many places. The result was that they fell, and the level of purity they achieved on Mount Sinai, they lost it forever. Moses came down, he broke the tablets. Why? Because he realized now there was a need for another set of tablets, because the tablets he brought was meant for the people who did not make the golden calf. The people who stayed on the level of Mount Sinai revelation. It was not the case. Now was the sin of the golden calf, and you needed a different law for this kind of a case. Now, how will that relate to us? How will that relate to the World War III that we are engaged in right now? How would that explain to us how to deal with the society around us, and also to deal with what's going on inside each one of us? Rabbi Isaac Luria goes into more details explaining that. He says something very important. Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Arizal, is saying both the children of Israel and the Erev Rav had the same kind of souls. Those were very special souls. These souls were very eccentric. They were involved with the story of the flood. They were involved with the story of the Tower of Babylon, Sodom and Gomorrah. However, through the deeds of Abram, Isaac, and Jacob, they started to purify that group of souls. More than that, those souls started to come to the physical world again as the children of Israel in Egypt. The Torah calls Egypt the iron furnace. And Rabbi Isaac Luria explained that, saying, what does it mean, the iron furnace? When you dig the gold from the mountains or silver, it doesn't look like gold, it looks like dirt. And you put it in an iron furnace so you can create a very high temperature. What happens in a high temperature, the dirt burns out and the pure metal becomes liquid, and you can collect it in the low places in the furnace. And then you do it again and again. Little by little, the dirt will be removed, and the metal, the precious metal, will be refined. The same thing, says the Arizal, is with a soul. human souls that got a lot of dirt in the sin of Adam, and later on in the generations that came after, and especially in the generation of the flood, and then the generation of the Tower of Babel, those souls were really loaded with a lot of negativity. As they were going through a process of purification through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who purified themselves and whatever came out from them. And then the iron furnace, the heavy suffering in Egypt, purified those souls. So after centuries of torture, those souls were pure enough to be able, as Rabbi Ashlag is saying, to understand the idea of loving another person as you love yourself, because that's the way to connect to the Almighty, to the network of the tree of life, to whatever is good. This is the base. Only then they could be taken out of Egypt and being led to Mount Sinai, because on Mount Sinai, 7 weeks after the Exodus, a year almost after the plagues started to fall over Egypt, and they got some of it too, there was another level of purification. On Mount Sinai, they were purified so much, they were above death, above the power of the angel of death. As we read later on, we can read that when Moses is coming down from the mount, and it says, I just forgot the exact location. Because it's a very central verse. You can find it on the book of Exodus, chapter 32, verse 16. והלוחות מעשה אלוהים המה, and the tablets are the act of God. והמכתב, מכתב אלוהים, and the writing is the writing of God. הוא חרוט על הלוחות. Now here there's a catch. It says, and it is engraved on the tablets. That's how it looks like it's written. However, it's not written this way. The word harut sounds like engraved. However, the sages mention that in the Talmud and in the Zohar, harut, engraved, is chet, reish, vav, tet. But that's not what the Torah says. The Torah says chet, reish, vav, tav. Chet, reish, vav, tav means cherut al haluchot, freedom on the tablets. And the sages are saying freedom from what? From the angel of death. The purification the Israelites went through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the slavery in Egypt, the 10 plagues, and the 7 weeks of marching in the desert brought them to Mount Sinai. That was the point they came back in a cleansing process till before the sin of Adam. Before the sin of Adam, it was cherut. It was freedom from the angel of death. The angel of death started only after the sin. They corrected that sin of Adam. Now, it's over. The sin of the golden calf broke that correction. Okay? So, What's in it for us? So Rabbi Isaac Luria is explaining as follows. There were another bunch of people in Egypt who had the same souls from the same background. However, they did not go through the purification of the iron furnace. They were the leading clan of warlocks and sorcerers, people of magic and wisdom in Egypt. They had the same souls, but they were not purified enough. And therefore, that's what God said to Moses. Do not take them now with you. Later on, you finish with the children of Israel, you'll go back and you'll have to take those outside also. Only when you fixate, you already come to a complete process with the children of Israel. It's not sure yet. Don't risk the project. Moses looks like was a gambler. He could not leave them behind. And those people, they are the ones who did the golden calf and mess it up, not just for themselves, for everyone. Not just for the Israelites, for the rest of the world. So where are those people? Where are the Erev Rav? We have to remember, it is 33 centuries later. So many things happened since. So many processes of purification on a personal level, on a national level, on humanity level. The whole humanity looks totally different now than it did 33 centuries ago. Most of humanity is aware to what happened on Mount Sinai, to what happened in Egypt. They were not. How can you feel or see? And that's what's important. Some people have souls that already went through a lot of purification through many past lives. They are more advanced. How do you see that? It's very simple. When they are under pressure, they turn to God. Like the Israelites, the first thing when they were under pressure on the Red Sea, they yelled to God. Okay, they prayed to God. They simply, as we learn about, as the Midrash said, they simply held on to the speciality of the forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why? They were purified enough because that's where they were God. It's not what happened to the Erev Rav. They went to doom and gloom. This is exactly the difference between winners and losers. True winners, it's those people that you can find it on the internet when you look for what is called in modern psychology, positive psychological capital. What does it mean? People who have optimism, resilience, hope, vision, okay? That's called, they will be able to fall and get up. They will be able to make much more money, to achieve much happier life. What is that? That's exactly what we said before, purification. Those souls are already advanced enough to be able to be innovative, to be challenging, to be winning, to be resilient enough to have a vision that is greater than life, and to be able to achieve whatever aspect of life they want to invest themselves into. Okay, however, we have those souls that are not advanced enough. What does it mean? It's not that the soul is different. The purification process is in delay relatively to the group we just described. How do you see that? It will be easier for them to complain when they're in trouble. They won't have the freedom. What is freedom? A free human being. We can see that on, the revelation of Mount Sinai. What is the first thing that God says? I am the Lord your God that took you out of Egypt from the house of slavery, which means you are not a slave anymore. You have to be aware of it, to agree. The Torah was given to free people, not to slaves. A slave is exempt of the Torah and the mitzvot. Why? Because the moment you allow yourself to be a slave, you have a master already. You have no responsibility. So a lot of people today, you can find those people who are advanced enough, they have faith. They believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They believe in a higher power that is loving unconditionally, that is infinite, that you can't change his opinion about you. And because of that, you will do anything for him. You'll be resilient, hopeful, innovative, and very, very stubborn in sticking to optimism. This is some of the basic definition of an advanced soul. Somebody who went through a lot of purification. Could be that in past lives, he could have done horrible stuff. However, he went through a lot of purification, and right now he is connecting to the one God. Maybe he has different ways to explain it, but how do you see it in the physical dimension? Innovation, hopefulness. He falls, he gets up all over again. You cannot destroy his optimism. You cannot destroy his sense of hopeness. And therefore, you find those people wherever they can be free. Entrepreneurs, invention, whatever is the front of human innovation, you find those people. They believe in the good. They behave in such a way. They trust the process. And and they trust the process because of that, they believe in miracles. Wrong. They don't believe in miracles. They count on miracles. They know miracles do happen, and they know that if you do your best, God will do the rest. But there's another kind of people, Erev Rav. Erev Rav is those kind of people. They need always somebody to tell them what to do. Somebody strong enough. They don't care about democracy, freedom. They want dictatorship. They want somebody that will get them together so they can, like a mafia. Together we can control, step on other people. They have no problem to be in unity, but not for the purpose of love, for the purpose of strength, so they can step on others. They do not believe in real, true freedom. They don't believe that humans can take responsibility. They need, like an herd, they need to be led. Like here, they wanted a God, a leader, somebody strong enough that can stand behind him and he will take them for whatever journey they need. They don't want to take responsibility for their grief, pain, suffering, pessimism. So these people will basically join the powerful. They'll join powerful, charismatic leaders. They will join the any big structure, they are very good at being bureaucrats because it's like, what is bureaucracy? You show your power, and power corrupts. And you have no problem to be corrupted because your soul is not aware there's a problem with that. There's so much dirt still that is hiding the shining soul underneath. So you see, the Third World War is not between, some countries are being ruled by those kind of people. They believe in power. They believe in control. They don't believe in the goodness of a human heart. And they make everything sure not to give people freedom because you can trust them. You can find those people in big companies and you feel the power that there's a giant behind you. And whenever you deal with those people, you see their loyalty, they're agents of evil, agents of exploitation. Okay? They will be also part of the deep state. That's a big company. That's power. That's control. There's a little problem over here. We had the story of the manna a few weeks ago, Parashat Beshalach. And the parasha and the story of the manna is about sustenance. It's a secret sustenance. What's the story? The story is like this. The manna came daily in the exact amount people needed for that day. And Moses said, do not keep anything for tomorrow. But people were afraid. What are we going to eat tomorrow? So they kept some on the side. But that overnight started to rot, and the smell was all over the place. Which means when you don't have real trust and faith in the Lord of the universe, it smells everywhere. So what happens? So you see those people, they can't stand the idea of innovation because, when you are in sales and when you are like working daily, you have to be there with God with total faith, because otherwise you freak out, you get crazy. The negativity of the fear, the anxiety, the loss of something to hold on to is so strong that you can't hold, that you become a monster. So what do? You get a job in a big company. You don't have to think too much. You just have to represent the interests of the company. You become a bureaucrat. You have you're part of the union. You have your salary is coming on time. Your pension is being built steadily. You are okay. You want to make a lot of money? Okay, you take bribery on the side here and there, but you're safe. But you're not free. And if you're trying to be innovative in a structure like this, your colleagues will kill you. No, you're destroying our name. No, don't try to give a better service, because, they will think if what you're doing in one day, it's like all of us together in 7 days. They'll fire us. No. Slow down. Don't run. Tell the people you're dealing with, come tomorrow, bring that thing, you can't. It will take 7 business days. I think you know what I'm saying. There's some power. It's not the power you generated and created, but you abuse the power that is at your hand. World War III is not just between different nations. It's inside the nations. More than that, it's inside each one of us. We have that side that is looking for fake security. and is willing to give up some of our freedom just in order to get that kind of a security. To be powerful enough so you can step on others and nobody will dare to step on you because you belong to the crowd, to the powerful clan of the Ministry of the IRS. The whole thing is behind your back. So you can do stuff to people that you don't have to, but you feel the power in the tips of your fingers. On Mount Sinai, there was no place for Erev Rav. We want to connect to Mount Sinai, we have to shut down the Erev Rav inside us. That part of our nature that prefers to stick to the cult. Could be the cult of the people who work for the IRS, the cult, the people who work for this and this powerful company, and so on and so forth. And then you feel powerful, infinitely powerful. You can abuse people's rights. They won't dare to go after you because you have the power. But we're in the middle of the war. Through the mass media, the social media, people are starting to wake up. It's not always for the right reasons, but people are starting to realize that freedom, the definition of freedom is much broader than what we thought about before. The definition of what is fair is much more broader than what we thought before, what our parents thought before. The idea of the trust of the big organizations is dissipating so fast. A lot of people have conspiracy theories, and there's no smoke without fire. A lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes, and we realize a lot of things are being hushed and concealed. And you can't trust anyone because freedom is painful. Freedom means nobody covers your back. Oh, yes, there's one who covers your back, the Almighty. When you have him, as your back, you can do a lot of stuff. You try and you fall, and you try and you fall, but you have that optimism that upsets so many people. And that's a war. So what's the story over here? It's about Moses took those people. They couldn't hold on. Moses was a little bit late and they had a fit. What are we going to do? We need a leader. They lost it. They ganged on Aaron. Why on Aaron? They were warlocks. They were masters of witchcraft. They knew they don't have the power. They knew Aaron had the power. Why? What's half a shekel? So let's go back to the name of the parasha. How do you raise the head of the children of Israel? How do you prevent them from stumbling? The word negev is stumbling. The plague is a result of stumbling. It could be a plague, be a corona, could be a war in Ukraine that suddenly all the the market falls apart because uncertainty and there's not enough wheat and minerals and stuff and the whole chain of what the world was used to that you order something and it comes from far away and it's cheap and it's fast and it's safe, and it's not anymore. It's getting worse with the day. So there's less trust. That's negev. Every stumbling block is a negev. But what is a stumbling block? So we discussed this for years. When we decide we want to describe the most powerful religion on earth, we describe it as the religion of materialism. And materialism is about selfish drives and satisfying those drives. You don't believe in God because God asks you to be independent because you were created in his image. And he is independent. He needs no one for his happiness, and he's the eternal happiness, and he wants you to be the same. We live in a generation that we are slaves to all the addictions that we're raised to be addicted. We're raised as kids on high level of sugar, white flour, and then it comes with medications for kids, and then drugs, heavier drugs. And then we get addicted to make lots of money, and we're addicted to spend this money more and more, and we always spending much more than we can make, most of us. And that's a great addiction. Everything in our culture is about addiction and addictive. Most of the social media, the structure is based, the algorithm is based on getting people addicted. And we are just simply in a very addictive system. It's almost impossible not to fall into it. What's the problem? Negev. It's a stumbling block. What's a stumbling block? It's against the rules of the universe. So let me explain. Why we have chapter 31, 32, and 30 and 31 before the story of the sin of the golden calf. There's a very powerful Jewish saying that says God always sends the remedy before he sends the plague. God always sends a remedy before he sends a plague. If you go through a plague, look for the remedy. It was there before even the plague came, but he didn't notice. So here are the remedies for the plague. And it says as follows. This is what they give everyone who's being under the census. מחצית השקל בשקל הקודש, half a shekel of the holy shekel, 20 גרה השקל, מחצית השקל תרומה לאדוני. The shekel was 20 units. The unit was called gera, in modern Hebrew, agora, okay, almost the same word. But the shekel was made of 20 gera, 20 units. Why 20? And that is to explain to us that, yes, we are creatures of desire. The Creator created us to be his vessels, to be the vessels of his bliss and pleasure. For that, we need to have desire. For that, we need to be craving always for pleasure. It's normal. However, since we were created in his image, being in the image of God, I said it many times, the simplest explanation is there are three aspects. You're independent, you're creative, and you share. Not because it's nice, it's the only way you can receive without negative, without falling. What does that mean? In any receiving in the universe that is after the Tzimtzum, after the Big Bang, the world was one. And there was a night, there was a day, one day. How could the world be one? So our sages are saying, The world could be one only when the whole world is one point, with no dimensions of past, of dimensions of space and time. That's how it started. Genesis chapter 1, verse 5. And there was a night, there was a day, one day. We were one with each other and with the Creator. Why did it stay like this? Because you cannot be a creator, you cannot be independent, you cannot create anything, and you cannot share when everything is in a perfect union. This is the oneness we are talking about. This is the unity we're talking about. So, on the second day of the creation, God broke that unity. Basically allowed us to break that unity. And this world was created. And in this world, we have to create our independence by ourselves. We have to create our happiness by ourselves. We have to create our pleasure by ourselves. The problem is like this. You need to share, which means if you want it 10, everybody wants it 10. 1 to 10, how much do you want it? I want it 3. No, you really want the 10. You were created to get it 10. In order to be able to receive the 10, the universe is structured by a secret. When you give 10, you create a power that is called the returning light. Why returning? You really wanted 10. And that instead of focusing, I want 10, you said, I'm willing to give 10. You go out of your way, 10 levels, 10 degrees of giving, caring, being there for somebody else. And by that returning light, you create the magical new vessel that can be created only in this world that is full of paradoxes, darkness, misunderstanding, failures, stumbling, mistakes. When you create those 10 forces, 10 levels of giving, it looks like, I gave money, I gave time, I lost money, I lost time. No, you did not. You created a vessel of 10 lights of what is called the returning light. 10 levels of the returning light. This vessel stays forever. It never diminishes. It stays with you till the last day of your life. And when you leave, it comes with you to the next life and the next life. And you gather them more and more and more. And when you complete creating 10 levels of returning light, for every desire that you have, what do you have? Every desire of your soul is now made of 20. 10 direct light, which means I wish, I desire, I crave, I want. Not just there's nothing wrong about it. This is the purpose of your creation. God created you to want it 10. He didn't create you to take 2 out of 10. He created you to take 10 out of 10. However, the only way you can kosher it is to create but this is, when you take 10 out of 10, negev, you fall. So you call it a plague. You call it a war, a disaster, an accident. All of these in our lives, all of these moments of falling is because of taking 10. Sometimes we take 5 out of 10. It will make us fall also. I'll take only 1 out of 10. You'll fall because direct light kills you. Why the Erev came to Aaron? Aaron later on became the high priest, the Kohen Gadol. Why? Because he had He had the secret of the returning light. He was the master of loving, caring, and being there for others. They needed that power for their witchcraft to succeed. Not because they wanted to be people of giving and caring, just know the wisdom. It didn't help them. The golden calf that didn't last too long, they didn't last too long. So the half a shekel, why not give a whole shekel? Because what we have to focus on, and that's a special power of this week, especially when Ki Tisa coincides with Purim. The half a shekel is, if the shekel is 20 units, 10 is the power to receive whatever God wants me to receive. 10 out of 10. Much more than I can even imagine. As our sages are saying, more than a calf wants the milk, his mother cow wants to give the milk. More than we want to be full of pleasure and delight, God wants us to give, to have that. We're not even aware how much is waiting for us. However, that's not the purpose of this reality. The purpose of this reality is so we can create the 10 lights, the 10 levels of the returning light. How do we do that? When we are there for others. So that's the remedy before the golden calf. What was a golden calf? An ox is a symbol of the left column. What's left column Kabbalistically? I want. I desire. Gold is a symbol of the left column. A golden ox. This is the god of selfishness. Till today, when you want to talk about the religion of materialism, that's a golden calf. And we have to be really careful about it. You know, July 4th, 1776 was the 17th of Tammuz, the day of the golden calf. America is the symbol of that golden calf. Moses came down with the tablets on that day. It could be the greatest day in the history of humanity. It was not. So America is leading as a golden calf. Even the symbol of the power of America is that bull, the ox, on Wall Street, right? That's a god. They said, this is your God, Israel. What's the remedy? So we don't fall, we don't stumble. Yes, we need to focus on what we desire, what we crave for. We're not to do it. It's not for us. If you want the 10 direct light, you need to focus on the 10 of returning light. You want to be successful and you want to be strong enough, you need to have faith. And the faith in God means that you want to connect to godliness. You have to give as a God, not as be God, but as a God, because you were created in his image. You have to feel that your giving and loving is unconditional. What we are here to build this week is the seed of the 10 Sefirot of returning light for the whole year. That's why we give the half a shekel during this week. That prevents us from stumbling. The story after that is a story of the copper basin in the tabernacle that held the water. That's copper. What's a special thing? And our sages are saying, what was the copper basin made of? When they came out with this huge copper basin that was basically held the water that the priest could use in the tabernacle, what did they made it from? And they say the women, they had copper mirrors. They didn't have the technology today of like mirrors that are made of glass. It was copper. One of the most precious things for women is the mirror. The women heard they need copper, and they came by thousands, each one of them giving their own copper mirror. Every time they came to the temple, they saw the copper sink, the copper basin, and said, "That's my contribution." They had, something so precious, but they gave it away. That's a symbol of the copper basin. So we have then we have the incense that we'll talk about it next week, and which is also very important, and Shabbat. But the most important thing is the giving. The Erev Rav were the people who were not ripe enough to understand that if you don't build the 10 Sefirot of being there for someone, of returning light. Same thing, you want to be really successful, you need people to give you money or faith. You really need authentically to be there for them. That's called returning light. This is the half a shekel. Also, there's a nice symbolism in that. The word half, machatzit, if you look at it, machatzit is mem chet tzadik yutaf. The middle letter is tzadik, stands for tzedakah, charity. The two letters that are close to the tzaddik, one side is chet, from the other side is yud, chai. The two letters that are touching the tzaddik, the charity, are chai, life, alive. But the two letters away from the tzaddik, the first and the last, are mem and taf, met, dead. Chai, met, live or dead. You're away from charity, you're dead. Oh, but I have a lot of money, who cares? I don't need anybody. You're dead. Why is it that people, that they just about accumulation of power, pleasure, food, whatever luxury it is, and they're miserable? Did you notice that? Because they're dead. If you don't build the 10 sefirot of the Machatzit HaShekel, the 10 sefirot of giving, you're dead. Because direct light, negev, make you fall. This is the power of this parasha. It ends with something even more powerful. Moses is standing on the mount, and God is testing him. God is saying that people, the nation, Ha'am, that you brought out of Egypt, the Erev Rav, they made another God. Let me smite them, finish them off. I'll make from you a new nation. Moses argues with God. He can't get the idea. He says, if you kill them, I quit. I'm not serving you anymore. It's either all of us or neither of us. Either you kill all of us or you leave all of us alive. And then Moses is saying something is more powerful. He's saying, stop that anger and that wrath. And then he says to God, show me your glory. It's like, I repeat every year, I repeat that. My teacher, Rabbi Nissim Peretz, used to say, of blessed memory. What Moses said is like, the logic says a sin of that magnitude is unforgivable. However, Moses said to himself, but more than a calf wants the milk, his mother cow wants to feed the calf. More than we want to live, God wants to give with us, to us. And that's what we need. Yeah, we made a mistake. We're humans. Humans make mistakes. Humans fall. That's okay. It's not okay to stay on the ground and blame the rest of the world. You need to have the resilience to get up. How are we going to do that? And he's asking God, show me your glory. Which is, as my teacher said, God, you gave us the Torah. You said that the Torah will remedy our evil inclination. It did not give us something more powerful. You're more invested in that than we are. And God is giving him the 13 attributes. 13 attributes are from the level of the Keter. It's from the level of almost the infinite. It is to connect us when we fall, not to be busy with how low did we fall, but to connect to how high God loves us unconditionally, no matter how much we fall. This is the biggest remedy. Whenever we fall, don't focus on how terrible is the fall. Focus on how much God loves you, how infinite is his giving and sharing. When you can focus on that, you'll be able to create the 10 Sefirot of the returning light, to get up, to achieve faith, to believe in the good, to have resilience, to be optimistic, and to win, and to get purified, and to get what you need to get. This is the biggest secret. Good luck for all of us. And this is the secret of Purim. Everything was lost, but you don't give up on hope, ever. Even if it looks like it's finished, because God loves you. Thank you so much.